There's a feature built right into iOS that enables you to play one of several soothing background sounds, whether you are just listening to voiceover reading something or whether you are playing audio from another app like music or Audible or Voice Stream Reader, any number of apps that play other audio. This is a feature that was originally introduced as an accessibility feature for those with tinnitus, which is persistent ringing in one or both ears. This feature is intended to help those with tinnitus to mask that noise. But of course, as with any accessibility feature, we generally find that it benefits everyone. And so, of course, background sound playback is useful for anyone if they want to focus or rest or any number of scenarios. You can configure this feature to be present in your control center so that it is easily accessed, and it is also available in settings. More specifically, to add it to your control center, you don't use the general control center screen in settings. Instead, you go to settings, accessibility, and then in the hearing section of the accessibility screen, there is a hearing control center screen. That screen works like the general control center screen, but it contains options pertaining to hearing accessibility, and one of those is background sounds. The settings for this feature, where it can also be turned on and off, are in settings, accessibility, and again in the hearing section under audio visual, and then background sounds. But the control center option, if enabled for this feature, also has a shortcut to that same settings screen from within audio visual. We will open this feature initially from the control center and look at the related settings from there. So to begin, I'm going to go to the control center.
Control center, airplane mode, switch button, off.
If I move to the bottom of my control center, because this item is currently close to the bottom of mine, and then flick to the left a few times with one finger to get to
Hearing devices, headphone level OK button,
and double tap.
headphone level OK.
And after listing out all of the various devices which can play sound, we're going to keep flicking to the right until we hear
Background sounds button.
background sounds.
Actions available.
And that is what we want. This item says that actions are available, and those actions include turning on the feature right by using the actions rotor, and also the show more options item if this happens to be collapsed for you. So if you, as you're flicking to the right, if you don't hear some of these options that I have, just go back to that background sound, flick up or down until you get to the show more options item on the actions rotor, and double tap to expand this background sounds area. Since mine is expanded, you don't receive any notification on whether it's collapsed or expanded, but you can easily tell whether if you flick to the right, there are options pertaining to it or not. I am going to flick to the right and let's see what we have.
Background sounds, switch button, off.
So if I double tap here, I will turn on the last selected background sound. I'm going to do that.
On.
And here, isn't that soothing? Is a nice, gentle stream. And as you will be able to tell shortly, as I'm flicking to the right, you will hear that voiceover either won't duck or just may very slightly duck. The audio ducking setting isn't used here with this setting because the whole purpose of this setting is to mask noise. So just so you can hear that a little, and then I will turn it off as we explore the settings, but I'm just going to flick to the right so you can hear how this sounds with voiceover running.
Stream volume, 20. Adjustable. Sounds, heading. Balanced noise, button. Bright noise, dark noise, ocean, rain. Selected. Stream, background sound settings, button. Background sounds, switch button, on, off.
and I flicked back to the left and turned it off. But that gave you an idea of the various items that are available with the background sound setting. The following setting, if I kept flicking to the right after background sound settings, is the lag listen, and that does not pertain to this feature. So if I turn it back on and then just go through the sounds to show you quick samples of what they sound like.
On. Stream volume. Sounds. Heading. Balanced noise. Button. Balanced noise. Bright noise. Dark noise. Button. Dark noise. Ocean. Button. Ocean. Dark. Rain. Button. Rain. Dark ocean. Stream. Button. Stream.
And we're back to stream.
Background sounds. Background sound off.
When I switched sounds, I did find that I needed to touch the center of the screen to get VoiceOver to refocus, and then I was able to flick to the left and right again to navigate this area of the control center. The volume control, if we flick to the right,
Stream volume 20. Adjustable.
is a standard slider. If you flick up and down, it will adjust in 10% increments. And I found, again, because the ducking doesn't work in this feature by design, the ducking setting isn't respected of VoiceOver, I found that keeping it low is very helpful to be able to hear VoiceOver as well. This feature by default will continue this background sound even if other media is playing. So for example, if I turn it back on, and then if I go into, say, VoiceStream Reader and begin to read a book.
VoiceStream Reader. Play button.
They shouted and laughed and wiped their mouths on their sleeves. Their pigtails flew. Their caps fell off.
As you could hear, the stream is continuing even when VoiceStream Reader is running and reading. I'll go back into Control Center to turn that off.
Background sounds. Switch button. On. Off.
Whether you want this background sound to be available when other media is playing and how loud it is in that situation is something that you can set. So we'll take a quick look at the settings relating to this feature. I will keep flicking to the right until we get to the background sound settings button.
Background sound settings button.
And double tap.
Audio and visual. Back button.
We'll just flick to the right.
Background sounds. Heading. Background sounds. Switch button. Off.
Continuing to flick to the right.
Plays background sounds to mask unwanted environmental noise. These sounds can minimize distractions and help you to focus, calm, or rest. Sound. Stream button.
This is allowing us to choose from the same sounds that we heard before.
Stream volume 20. Use when media is playing. Switch button. On.
And here is the setting that I just referred to. So what we just flicked past was the same volume control, the master volume control for the background sound, the one that we saw in Control Center. But now here's a separate volume control that's going to come up that pertains to media. So if now this setting of use when media is playing, if that is turned off, the background sound would stop when music or an audiobook app or a text-to-speech reading app, any other kind of media that takes over the audio would be in use. But because it is on, as you saw, the sound continued.
Volume with media 20. Adjustable.
You can set the volume separately with the media.
Play sample button.
And this will show you a sample of what media will sound like with your selected volume of background sound so that you can set this the way you would like.
Stop sounds when locked. Switch button. Off. When enabled, background sounds will stop when iPhone is locked.
And that's pretty self-explanatory. You can customize whether that will happen or not. Of course, when it is off, even when your iPhone is locked, the background sound will continue. That is the end of this setting, and I hope you enjoy using your iPhone to play some soothing background sounds.